Call to order. We'll call to order the meeting of February 5th of the City Council. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand of your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, could you call the roll?
A quorum is present.
Okay, we're going to pull item DR1 from the agenda. And right now we have a proclamation for American Heart Month. Is there a representative present? Oh, there is. Just 1 second. Whereas cardiovascular diseases are the nation's leading cause of death, and the cost of this disease, with direct and indirect costs estimated to be $312.6 billion. And whereas while progress has been significant in reducing deaths from heart disease, it's still the #1 killer of both men and women. Whereas 2,150 people die from cardiovascular diseases each day, accounting for 1 death every 40 seconds. And whereas the American Heart Association's 2020 impact goal seeks to improve the cardiovascular health of all Americans by 20%, while reducing deaths from cardiovascular diseases and stroke by 20% through research, population and community level interventions, public health and policy measures. And whereas efforts of the American Heart Association encourage citizens to help save lives by calling 911 if symptoms occur, become trained in CPR, and encourage comprehensive automated external defibrillator programs in their communities. Now therefore be it known that the mayor and council members of the city of Inglewood, California, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2013 as American Heart Month in the city of Inglewood. And who's going to be accepting days? Denise?
Yes, hi. My name is Siobhan Lenoir, and I am representing the American Heart and Stroke Association. I am the Regional Director of Health Equity Programs in LA County, San Diego, and the Inland Empire. And I just want to say thank you so much to the City of Inglewood for recognizing American Heart Month. Currently, the Go Away From Women movement has been in its 10-year process, and we're still fighting to save women's lives of heart disease and stroke. 1 out of 3 women die of heart disease and stroke every minute. And so it's just essential to recognize this awareness and what we're doing in the community. We're definitely focusing on hypertension. That's a major cause for African Americans and Latinos. And we're doing our best to really improve the heart health by 20% by 2020. So again, thank you so much, Mayor Butts, for recognizing us in our efforts, and thank you to the City of Inglewood as well.
Thank you. We can't do it over there.
By the logo to your right.
Oh, okay. Why don't you come up here?
Mighty sweet. Mighty sweet.
Public comment. Any persons wish to address the council on any item on today's agenda other than closed session may do so at this time. And as a reminder, DR1's been pulled, so we won't be talking about that today. Is there any public comment?
Could you repeat that? Can't hear you. So many people here. Can't hear you.
Public comment, Alfonso. Go ahead.
On the agenda item, but public just.
DR1 is the Card Club license request for LAX property. That's been pulled.
Would you like to explain to the people what that means so they know? That would be
It's
courteous.
no longer on the agenda.
So they may not speak to it.
That's what I said. Now, Mr. Brown, your time is running. Go ahead.
I know, it always is, as soon as I get here. Well, I'll explain it to the public then.
Mr. Brano, you can speak on any item that's on the agenda.
I am.
All right.
I will.
All right.
I am speaking to the fact that frequently we come to these meetings, items on the agenda are pulled, and then someone has an attitude if we try to discuss anything, because someone seems to think he has a crystal ball and know what we'll speak about before we even get here. I wish the cameras had been here at other times when that happened. In fact, they probably would have enjoyed your eliminating someone from the meeting because that crystal ball issue. With regard to DR3, the finance issue, I'm surprised that we are getting a quarterly report, and it's nice that we do have a quarterly report coming up, but I would hope that we go into more depth about how we come up with the dollars that we come up with. One of the things, obviously, would be that Hollywood Park issue, because a lot of the decisions that you're making is based on not knowing what's going on with Hollywood Park. And yet, I think you have some dollars invested in the budget as if we were going to be getting it. The other interesting thing that when I saw that report, it consistently shows that you keep on spending more than you anticipate receiving and say it's cool. That's how we got into the budget issue that you claim we're not in. Kind of like the school district that's now in receivership said we didn't have a problem up until the very last minute. It's unfortunate that we tend to live in that little place of not exactly integritous response when the public asks questions, but that is our reality. And, you know, we keep on spending money for professional services like this guy for the former redevelopment agency. How much has we already spent on him when in fact, well, golly gee whiz, well, you didn't do what we asked you to do for the 25 years that you were running it, and now we have all those problems that keep on getting denied by the state.
Folks, one second. Could everyone that doesn't have a chair, we have an overflow room downstairs if you want to remain for the rest of the meeting, but for regulations require everyone to have a seat. So everyone that isn't seated, Sergeant, before we go further, could we go down to the overflow room?
I think we'll take care of your problem if you
take
just allow me to.
We'll take a recess. No, it's a fire regulation.
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify for our members that
Okay.
the item that was pulled
Right.
is the item that we came here to speak on.
That's
correct?
correct. That's
So I want to thank you, the mayor, and thank the council people for doing that. We are respectful of your process, so we'd love it if you would allow some of our members to speak on the item, but if that's your rules, we understand, and we'll be back when this
Great.
is back on the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And we'll recess right now.
Not only that, not have bought to general public. Which is very known and should be known if you didn't, that I've been walking around with this here since December the 18th or so to see if it would be bought up. Inglewood bonds and stuff have been downgraded to a grade on the stock market or whatever, the B, AAA, which is as low, damn near as low as it can get. You have funds and bonds that you've issued that are being devalued, have been devalued on the market, but yet and still you come before us talking about more financing, more programs to get money. And in both of the program funding, bonds, and what have you, Inglewood has lost approximately, I got the figures here, but I don't want to read it, take too long, almost $90 million because of incompetence. Okay? To get to the other issue, which is all about the financing and what's going on here in Inglewood, and dealing with the financing issues, when you have city clerks in Bell and everywhere else that are going before the different courts and proceedings with immunity to get to you people that are not doing your job, And they have to stand up and clarify themselves where they stand, and they've been doing their job, but other people above them have been dictating what they do outside of their job, such as the agenda. Give you an example. You got a local chief convicted, SEIU. He was just recently convicted for games. Well, this is what happens when you lay down with fleas. You will get up at least with one flea, okay? The other thing is that this issue that last week, we've been asking about this, meetings you set up. This is the kind
Okay.
of work you do. Your meetings.
Alfonso, you have to talk about something
Okay.
that's on the agenda, or you're going to have to truncate
Okay.
this now.
And so these issues, to get back to the agenda, when you've got people in positions that have been there a long time that have to get up and declare that they're not going to allow you to throw them under the bus.
That you're still not on the agenda.
It
We're-
is, because it has to deal with the finance and the running and the way this Inglewood operates. Because finance is the very essence and why we're in the trouble today. Bell is there, and we're not there. We're well on the way. We're so deep, I don't know if we'll get out of it. But I did stipulate the last meeting that some people need to cover their butt and don't let nobody throw them under the bus. Get your lawyers, because it's coming out. You're wrong. You're wrong. I got this report with names of issues you have here, and I couldn't get it.
We're at time.
I just got it today.
Alfonso, we're at time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'll be back for the public, because I got more for you.
I appreciate it.
Good evening. Leroy Fisher, the First District. I want to ask about this CSA3 with regard to redevelopment properties. You know, I know that we supposedly were in negotiation with the Madison Square Gardens people on certain properties. And I asked in a meeting that was here at the City Council last week what properties these were. And I was wondering if maybe the city manager could tell me what properties they're negotiating with Madison Square Gardens on, because it seems to me with this CSA 3, you're going to have to pay somebody to find out what properties you actually own. And I, you know, as a resident of this city, was concerned about those properties because, as I was said over and over, at one time, those properties at 101st and 102nd were designated for the YMCA, which it was backed off by certain members of this council and a former mayor. But with regard to the $60,000 that you're going to pay to these people, you already have 16 or 20 consultants and attorneys that you're paying for this. And so it's kind of ironic to me that you don't even know what properties you do own and what you can negotiate on. So if the city manager would be so good to share with the people of this community of what properties we do own and what they are in negotiation with Madison Square Gardens and whomever the Forum LLC, Mr. Mayor, if you could pay a little attention to what I was saying. But as usual, we get that in the city. But you know, there's some questions that need to be answered to the people of this city, because we are the taxpayers, we are the owners, and we are the bottom line. People are going to have to pay for whatever is. So we have every right to know what properties they are in negotiation for and who they are in negotiation with for these properties, supposedly for parking. But I want to know what these properties are that Mr. Fields is negotiating with Madison Square Gardens for. So if they would be so good to give that information, I, for one, as a resident of the city, would appreciate it.
Excuse me, Mayor, is it possible, isn't there a map that shows those parcels that would be available to the public?
Why don't we, let me think about that for a minute, and we'll figure it out. Go ahead,
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. Paying the bills. I want to know where's the money. Or they say Dante, Standes, Danilo. DR 3. I would request an oral report. And CSA 3. Is there copies available of those reports rather than just receive and file? You see, one of the problems is we have 15 or 20 consultants and attorneys for implementation of AB 26. Your litigation cost is about 2.9% of the budget. And I stated, Mr. Mayor, that we $1 billion in debt. Now, I don't know how you define certain words, but I'm going to defer to Mr. Fields. I have your figures that you're giving, okay? Now, he's saying they're incorrect. Now, when you say, oh, I consider that outstanding debt or obligations. Now, I don't know what you call oh, so we may have a little bit of semantics. Now, on your ROPS 3, outstanding debt, Mr. Fields, $362,143,369. Is that correct, Mr. Fields? No? You mute? What?
Mr. Matthew, please finish your comment.
Well, I'm speaking.
I said please
All right,
finish.
the way you're taking my time. All right, now do 131.13. $20,549,185. Is that correct, Mr. Field? That's your low and moderate income housing fund. Did you make the payment? Now, here again, you have in your housing payment schedule till 2036, $750 million. Is that correct, Mr. Fields? And I use USA math. Now, some people use Morningside math. Now, I added it up. It is $1.1 billion, 125,000, 430, no, let's start over. 1.1 billion, 121 million, $433,000. All I did was add those called outstanding debts. Now, when you have
Thank you,
outstanding
Mr.
debts, I
Matthew.
call that owing money in debt.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Close public comment. Oh. All right.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Jean Davis, a resident of District 2, and I'd like to speak on DR3 also. When I reviewed the budget, our 2012-2013 budget, we lost a lot of money, about $90 million from redevelopment. But the bottom line of how much money we were going to spend was still over $216 million. So we need to somehow or another increase revenue. I appreciate the fact that Councilman Stevens has retracted his statement about the transfer tax. You said you agreed that we need to have a transfer tax according to Morningside, but you didn't think it should be that high. So I think we need to try to figure out how we can actually have revenue to come to the city. If we would have had the property transfer tax when the farm was sold, we would have brought a large amount of money to this city. So we don't have money. We need to figure out how to get money, and it's the responsibility of the council and also from the input of the citizens to let you know how to do that.
Thank you. Close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H2.
Warrant register, allow for payment of the bills.
So moved. Second.
Comment.
Councilwoman Dunlap.
Yes, Mr. Fields, you had mentioned at a meeting just a few months back with regard to revamping the warrant register to make it a little more clear, a little more explanation. And I do appreciate the beginning of these particular warrants. You have the codes where individuals who take a look at it can determine what funding it's coming from, what source. However, we do have page after page of just names where there is really no description whatsoever, nothing. It's just the name written twice, the date of the check written twice, and then the amount, meaning before it actually said these are retirement, which is what it is. I believe it has to do with the medical. But I'm sharing that, could you please work on this aspect, because it's actually less informative as opposed to more. And I think it's specific to these retirement benefits. So if you do that,
Yeah,
I'd
in fact,
appreciate it.
we have reformatted it in a way that it'll allow us to have more space to write a full description. And so I'm working with staff to get the descriptions expanded upon, not reduced. And I share your concerns, and I've talked with staff about that already.
All right, so that's something you're already aware of?
Yeah,
This
well,
is like a work
exactly.
in progress?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Abstain?
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin, Mayor Butts.
Aye. Consent calendar items 2 and 3. So moved. Madam City.
I would like a staff report on item 3.
Item 2. Madam
Council
City Clerk.
members Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin, Mayor Butts.
Aye.
Staff report recommending approval of a program supplement agreement number 017-N2, administering agency state agreement for federal aid project number 07516-4R to assure the receipt of $2,830,000 in federal funds.
Mr. Atwell.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item that you have before you is a recommendation to approve the program supplement agreement to assure receipt of $2.8 million in federal funds. On August 31st, 2009, the Mayor and Council approved a master administrating agency state agreement for federal aid projects with Caltrans. The master agreement established terms and conditions the city must meet to receive federal funds to implement transportation improvement projects. On December 7, 2012, Caltrans awarded the city $2.8 million in federal funding for the La Brea Avenue resurfacing project, Phase 2. The total estimated project cost is about $6.6 million. City participation is estimated to be about $3.8 million. The city contribution will be met by expending Prop C and local return funds, as well as Prop 1B funds for this project. The project is currently advertising for submittal of construction bids with a bid opening date of Wednesday, February 13th, 2013. Staff anticipates recommending that the mayor and council members award a construction contract thereafter. It is further anticipated that construction will begin in April of 2013, and the project will be completed 1 year later. Approval of program supplement agreement, this supplement agreement by February 15th, 2013 is necessary to assure the receipt of the $2.8 million.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My comment, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stevens.
I would just like some clarity, Mr. Fields. I recognize that Prop C, local return, and Prop 1B funds are going to be used on this project. But where do we stand with the settlement agreement with LAX, where LAX agreed that they would, in fact, not only provide funding for Century Boulevard to be repaved, but also La Brea Avenue between Century Boulevard all the way to Woody's Barbecue. What street is that? That would be La Brea Drive.
Yeah.
Where are we at with
I've had
collecting
discussions
that
with my
funding?
staff regarding the notion that LAWA had agreed to pay the city funds to repave Century Boulevard. But I was told that those were just discussions and that the LAWA board never approved any revenue for that particular use. And so that's where that stands at this point.
Well, I'm a bit concerned about that because that's actually written in the settlement agreement between the city of Inglewood and Los Angeles Water Reports, which is in fact a legal document. So the fact that we would have to have them actually approve something that has already been sanctioned by the court,
Okay.
it's in the settlement agreement. Now, do not confuse the community benefits agreement. That's just a document that LAX basically wrote. That's meaningless. The real issue is between the city of Inglewood and LAX. LAX agreed that they would provide funding for the repaving of Century Boulevard, as well as La Brea. It's clearly stated in the settlement agreement.
Okay.
So my question to you again is, where are we with that?
So what I'll do based on what you're saying, and I need to confirm that, but I wasn't aware that that wording was in the document, so I'll look at that and get back to council with an answer. But I think that will not, regardless, that will not impact what we're trying to do tonight. We're under a timeline to expend these funds, or else we're going to lose them, so.
Oh, well, I understand that. My
Right.
concern is that if we have money from LAX that could be used for La Brea Drive, then that means we could very well spend our 1B funds and our Prop C funds
Somewhere
at other
else.
location,
Right.
at another location in need. You see, that's my point.
Okay. All right, well, I'll check into that, Council and Mayor, and find out
Yeah.
if that's in fact true.
Councilman Stevens, if I may.
Yes.
The Prop 1B funding of the $1.1 million is actually set to expire by June 30th of this year. That's why we're pushing this forward.
I do not have an issue, Mr. Atwell, with your performance or the fact that we are on a finite timeline for this. My concern is that in 2006, 2007, the settlement agreement was agreed to between the City of Inglewood and LAX. And we have dragged our feet in collecting the money that we are entitled to for our residents. And so, as I stated, this Prop C local return fund and Proposition 1B funds, I recognize the fact that it does have a shelf life that is coming to a close, that we must spend the money. My only concern was that bringing to the attention of the city manager, as well as my colleagues, to remember that there is other money that is sitting on the table here that LAX has agreed to pay us, compensate the city for the damage of the freight haulers traveling to LAX, the vehicle trips to LAX, all for them to make a profit. They agreed to pave our Century Boulevard and our La Brea Avenue, 2006, 2007. And the major question for me is where is the money, you say? Because we could very well spend these Prop C funds and 1B funds on another street. So I appreciate you, Mr. Atwell. You also, Mr. Fields. Thank you very much for your time. I'll conclude with that.
I'll move approval, Mayor. Second.
Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Dunlap?
Aye.
Morales?
Aye.
Franklin?
Aye.
Mayor Buds?
Aye. Before we move on, Mr. Fisher, I thought about your request. You know, we're in negotiations, and we don't usually discuss negotiations because those are in flux. At any time before we were to put an agreement forward for approval, the parcels themselves would be made public, and you as a resident would know exactly which parcels were contemplated to be part of a transaction. SPH 1.
Excuse me, Mayor, with all due respect.
Excuse me, there's nothing else to comment on.
Yes, actually.
I was answering, please, ma'am, please. You can have time at the end of the meeting. Madam City Clerk.
Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution approving the fiscal year 2013-14 Citizen Participation Plan.
Move adoption.
I believe we're setting the hearing, or is this?
Well, you're
action?
adopting the resolution.
Move
and
adoption.
setting a
Second.
public.
Madam City Clerk.
Set a public hearing. Councilmember Stevens?
I have a comment.
Dunlap?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Councilman Stevens.
Thank you. Colleagues, I have a concern that we're moving forward with this. The entire purpose of what we're doing here is, it states very clearly, adopt a resolution for citizens' participation plan. Set a public hearing on March 5th, 2013 at 2 p.m. May 7th, 2013 at 2 p.m. July 16th, set a public hearing at 2 p.m. And each one of these is receive input from the public. December 17th at 2 p.m. to receive input on the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. 2 p.m. receive input from the public regarding the draft fiscal year 2013-2014 Consolidated Annual Action Plan. Receive community input at 2 p.m., community development and housing needs. Set a public hearing for 2 p.m. on March 5th to receive input and approve recommendations for allocating the unexpended 2011-2012 Community Development Block Grant Funds, money that we have not even spent. So my concern is that at 2 o'clock, the people who work from 8 to 5, they will not be available to participate at any of these meetings.
And-
Yet the entire purpose for this resolution that we're approving here tonight is identified as Citizens Participation Plan. It states very clearly, colleagues, that it says, HUD also requires participating jurisdictions to develop a citizens participation plan that identifies the city's plan to encourage participation in the development and evaluation of the consolidated plan by very low income to moderate income persons.
Okay.
Now, I have a question. Is Ms. Thigpen here today? Ms. Thigpen, did you bring your moderate income or low income charts of what classifies a person as moderate income?
No, the median income, the income limits just recently came out again from HUD, and the median income, which is a family of 4, is about $61,000. So
Okay.
your
So $64,000, and that can be a mother of 1 and 3 children, correct?
a family of 4.
A family of 4. Okay. Now, if she works from 8 to 5, Ms. Thigpen, how would she participate in this?
Well, by looking at the item on the agenda, for example, she could submit something in writing to the office of the city clerk, which would then be considered during
Ms.
the public
Thigpen,
hearing.
let me interrupt for a second. We're moving adoption. When we set the hearings, I was going to move them all for night because they shouldn't be in the daytime. So what we're
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Could
no,
Mr. Falco
excuse-
pause
hold on
my
one second.
time, please?
Well,
Just
what
point of order,
what I'm
sir.
saying is, and
Mr.
I'll
Falco?
I'll give you the time. What we want to do is adopt the resolution. We'll set the time of the hearings for nighttime when we get to 2 and 3. So go ahead, Councilman Stevens.
Oh, okay. So, Ms. Thigpen, as it states here very clearly, it states 2 p.m. in the written document. You're saying that Ms. Falco, Mayor stated you were going to reset my time.
He stopped it.
No, he didn't stop it.
I don't have the ability to do that.
You do not have the ability to what?
Okay,
To stop
Councilman
it?
Stevens, go on. We'll give you another minute. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't stop it.
Okay. The issue is this, Ms. Thigpen. Would you please explain once again? A single mother, 3 children, how would she be able to participate? Once again, she would have to submit a written.
If an individual is unable to attend, yes, they could submit their written comments to the office of the city clerk, who would then present that to the council during the public hearing, and that's for any public hearing.
Okay. Now, I would like to move that we change this timeline to the evening. Now, Mr. Mayor, you had stated that we were going to realign the timelines to 7 o'clock, sir?
All we were doing is adopting a resolution. When we get to setting the times, we're going to set them all for 7 p.m. So you can go
Well,
ahead.
the timelines are, in fact, sir, the Citizens Participation Plan. The Citizens Participation Plan itself, which my colleagues have already moved to adopt, is in fact the timelines of 2 o'clock.
No, we get to set the hearing.
We can set the hearings.
Let me just say this, please, because on the ordinance that we approved a couple of weeks ago says the 1st and 3rd
Yeah.
Tuesday. So on these particular dates, as I know you had mentioned that you wanted all public hearings to be at night,
Right.
but on these particular dates, they would fall on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday. So we would have to change the date.
Okay.
And then, so it could be for the evening time,
That'll be great.
as you wished.
All right.
So for clarity, what is written here then is inaccurate. Is that correct, Ms. Thigpen?
No, it's not inaccurate. The council may change it, but it's accurate as it stands. As the clerk stated, the dates that are there happen to fall on the dates that the council would be meeting during the day. So it's accurate as written.
So once again, for clarification, Mr. Mayor, my colleagues have moved that we adopt the resolution, which is in fact the timeline. Are they going to have,
No, it's
are they
not.
now
No,
going to
it's not.
rescind?
No, it's not.
No,
But
it's
you-
not.
Go ahead and finish your comment, and we'll go on.
They
with
would have to
business.
rescind their motion to move forward.
No, that's not necessary.
Well, it states very clearly here, it says adopt resolution approving the fiscal year 2013, 2014 Citizens Participation Plan. It lists the times. Then it states very clearly, it states to develop a citizens participation plan that identifies the city plan to encourage participation.
But,
This
Councilman,
does
can I,
encourage
Okay,
the
okay,
timeline.
okay, we're at time.
Councilman-
Councilman Franco.
Yes, thank you. Let me just follow up. All we're doing now is adopting resolution. When you look at the resolution, it only talks about there will be a minimum of 2 public hearings. Doesn't say the hour of the day.
no.
Also, it talks about, under community meetings, there will be public community meetings at City Hall on the first floor in our community room. And also, the staff goes out to our local community centers and meets and engages with the public as well. But as far as the adoption of the resolution is concerned, there is no times given. All we're doing is adopting the resolution. Subsequently, in the next items, we can then address the hour of the day. Thank you, Mayor.
So anyways, a motion on the floor in a second, Madam City Clerk.
No, I had some comments.
Councilman Dunlap.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to start by saying that some of this confusion that just happened was because, once again, we were not following our rules of decorum. Would state in ordinance number 95-25, section 2, it says very clearly, interruptions. A council member, once recognized, shall not be interrupted while speaking. I think that kind of began the disorder here. So I would ask, Mayor, that you follow the rules of decorum, as well as hopefully the rest of us. And I would like to speak to the same item. I would like to say that I would disagree with the assessment of my colleagues with regard to this resolution. It states very clearly that we're approving the citizen participation plan, which is on the next page, and it shows the calendar for these daytime meetings. So it doesn't have to be a big deal. It just needs to be fixed and brought back next week. That's all. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. Obviously, these are all scheduled in the daytime. They should not have been, because very low and moderate income people are working. For sure, they are working. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know how many single mothers with 3 children, when they get home from work, are going online to read our agendas. I applaud them if they do, but I don't think that's high on their priority. So I would just like to ask that definitely we need to put the meetings in the evening. I think we all agree with that. That's why my colleague brought it up in the first place. They need to be at night so people can attend. But there is a calendar here. And when we adopt the resolution, we're adopting this calendar. So I would just ask if we could just bring it back so that the city clerk can just let us know when it's convenient for her to have these meetings at the 7 o'clock hour, because our new ordinance does go into effect.
Okay, Madam City Clerk.
I just wanted to, this resolution, it talks about the participation plan, but on the actual calendar, and I'm looking at it right here, it says that the agenda items, adoption for the citizen participation plan and the request to set annual consolidated plan granted program public hearings at 7 p.m.
Yep.
for 5/7/13, 7/16/13, and December 17th, 13th. That's what it says right here. So it's
Okay.
scheduled for 7 p.m.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, here's,
No.
first of all,
There needs to-
let's vote on the motion to adopt.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to
We can
do
do the
in setting
calendar.
the hearings, just add 7 days to each one of those dates, and then we'll hold them at 7 p.m. as is called for.
Got it.
So
I got
Madam
it.
City Clerk,
Councilmember Stevens.
I just want to clarify something. So your package, Madam City Clerk, is different from ours. It doesn't have
no, it's not.
I,
Actually, since it's still on my time, if everyone would please allow me to speak. Thank you very much. Actually, it does say 7 o'clock, the public hearing would be at 7 o'clock. However, it is a council meeting that starts at 2.
right.
That's what it says. The council meeting starts at 2, but it does have this, so there's some mixed-up information that I would expect Ms. Thigpen to rectify, just bring it back to us. We shouldn't be trying
We
to
can do it
discuss.
here
We all
now.
agree this should be at night. Let's just have Ms. Thigpen bring it back next week so we don't have to have these continuing discussions. She can work it out with the city clerk to make sure it fits with her schedule.
Councilman Morales.
Thank you. And
So, wait a minute,
obviously,
excuse me,
it's.
I'm not-
Well, she's not done yet.
Oh, I'll go right ahead.
Thank you very much. So, it does say the citizen participation plan is in the resolution, we're approving it. It does say that. And the citizen participation plan is presented through CDBG Community Development Block Grant, actually has conflicting information. Talks about a meeting starting at 7 for a public hearing, but yet that particular meeting, because of the new ordinance, actually starts at 2. So therefore, there's a conflict, and so I think we just need to bring it back next week with everything straightened out. It's really a simple thing, and we all agree with it. So there shouldn't be all of this discussion. Let's just bring it back with all the dates, without the conflict, because the date shows 7, it shows 7 o'clock, as the city clerk read. But yet these dates are the 1st and 3rd, which are 2 o'clock meetings.
Are you through, Councilman?
Ms. Thigpen was.
No, I would like to
Ms.
speak.
Thigpen
Thank
is
you.
on my, still on my
Gotcha,
time. Go ahead.
Gotcha.
So I might
Yes.
want to comment.
I just want to advise the council, we turn these in ahead of time, so I do apologize. Since council made a change in the days and times that you meet, we do just need to change those dates and times. So
That's
why it's-
completely understandable. That's why I'm saying I think it's a simple fix. Everyone is in
can do that
agreement,
right
so
now.
maybe it could just be brought back timely.
Councilman Morales.
Ready, Ms. Dunn?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's so simple, we could do it tonight.
Yeah.
You know, basically, there are two things that are happening. We're adopting the ordinance with the plan, and then we're setting dates and times. You know, so we can do both right now. We can adopt the plan, we haven't taken that vote, and then the mayor could set the public hearings, just exactly as he said, add 7 days, and it would still work within for your staff to continue, have enough time to print and send out the notices, correct?
That's correct. I believe on a couple of the dates, you'd have to move forward. 'Cause
Correct.
there's- Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. So
I-
we'll go ahead, we can do that now.
I
so
have
we
a
can just-
calendar here. I don't know. I could throw out some dates for you.
No, he's just gonna add 7 days.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's
I
vote
can
on
give
the-
you all those dates right
but
now.
Let's vote on the motion that's on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Stevens.
Mayor, with all due respect, how can you adopt a calendar and then change the calendar? Let's just change the calendar and then go back and do the resolution.
Because we have the
Okay,
authority.
what we're going to do is we're going to do that. Madam City Clerk.
Councilman.
Wait, Councilwoman
Mayor,
Dunlap-
but it says here we're approving.
Why don't you just let us vote?
Let's have the city attorney, if he says that we can adopt a resolution that says we're adopting a calendar, and then we can go back and change the calendar, then I'm fine with that. So if you'd
Well-
ask for an opinion, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. City Attorney. Is it that difficult?
I'll leave it to the council's discretion. It's your call, it's not my
Thank you
call.
very much. Madam City Clerk.
Council members. Stevens.
No, just vote, just vote.
No, I have a question for the city clerk. Madam City Clerk, so we're approving a resolution on the face value of what's written here, but we're going to change it at a later time. Does that create an issue of where some of the meetings could be at 2 o'clock and some of the meetings could be at 7?
All the public hearings are going to be at 7.
Based upon the
Well,
calendar, Madam City Clerk, that's all I'm asking. Because some of our meetings now are going to be during the daytime, some will be in the evening, based upon your calendar there.
It's not in the resolution.
The resolution doesn't say that, Councilman. And all the meetings will be at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
They will be at 7.
All the meetings will
All
be
the
at 7
public
o'clock.
hearing, all the public hearings will be at 7
Okay,
o'clock.
all right.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members, Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Butts.
Aye. Now, Madam City Clerk,
Okay.
for the setting, could we just,
Okay, so we can go with the first date, which she has for March the 5th, and we can do it on the 12th. Does that work for you? I'm going to throw the dates at you because you're the one that's presenting it, and I
Yes, that's fine.
think that's appropriate. So March 12th, is that good, Ms. Thigpen?
Yes.
Okay.
please let her finish.
Then May 14th, is that good?
Yes.
Okay. July 23rd,
No,
okay.
that
What,
needs to go up.
it needs to go up?
Yes.
Okay, then the 9th?
That's fine.
July 9th. And December is the last one, and that's,
12:10, move that up.
it was to, on the 17th, you
So
wanted,
move
on the
it-
10th?
Move it to the 10th.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, Ms.
All
Thigpen.
right.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll set the public hearing for those dates. Yeah, we were able to do it. My goodness. SPH2,
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to consider adopting a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act resolution and approve the issuance of a tax-exempt revenue bond by the California Statewide Development Authority to assist in financing or refinancing of the acquisition, rehabilitation, improvement, and equipping an affordable senior rental housing facility for the Eucalyptus Park Apartments located at 811 North Eucalyptus Avenue, Inglewood, California.
set the public hearing for March 5th, 2013 at 2 p.m. Now, DR2,
Set the public hearing, he said it. Oh, wait, we got to go back, sorry.
oh,
That's another daytime, and that's a public
so
hearing.
can we move it to the 12th?
So we're going to move it to
No,
what date,
excuse
ma'am?
me. It should be because that is specifically regarding seniors and
Oh,
senior housing.
That's right, and
Okay.
seniors we're going to keep in the daytime.
Got it.
All right. DR2,
Oh, staff report recommending approval of, oh, no, I'm sorry, wrong one. Staff report recommending approval of the housing, of the Homeless Emergency Solution Grant Program Policies and Procedures for Administration of the HESG program by City of Inglewood Community Development Block Grant Division staff.
Move approval. Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. DR3,
Is a staff report pertaining to the fiscal year 2012-2013 first quarter general fund budget review report.
receive and file, CM1
I had a comment for DR3.
for DR3.
Yes.
All right. Councilman Stevens.
Yes, Mr. Fields. Page 9. Page 9. Page 9, Carl, take a look at the water funds. It says water and sewer funds. States revenues. States revenues.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Falco has issue here. Okay. Mr. Fields states, we're dealing with the water and sewer funds, water funds. States revenues during the first quarter of fiscal year 2012-2013, the water fund received revenues of $5,776,000 compared to $3,076,030 received in the first quarter of fiscal year 2011-2012. The increase of $1,924,746, or 63%. That's 63%. I want you to just remember that. 63% is attributed to the increase in water rates, which were implemented in March 2012. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to read something to you, and this is Inglewood Mayor James T. Butt's State of City Address to the residents of the city of Inglewood. And he states very clearly, it says, the proposed water rate increases for the water used by a typical household, 1,500 cubic feet per month, or about 11,220 gallons per month, are approximately 28%, $14 immediately, and 12%, $6.60, the beginning of 2012-2013. Now, what's the significance of that? Well, I held a town hall meeting And after that town hall meeting, I was told that I was giving out misinformation, that people's water rates were going to see, they were going to see an increase of 58%. I was conservative. Based upon your document, Mr. Fields, the people have seen a 63% increase. Yet you and the mayor slandered me, said that Councilman Stevens is inaccurate, it's going to be only a 28% increase, came to my town hall meetings, said, oh no, it's only going to be 28%. And that's my point, as what happened on the previous item. You know, I want to work with everyone on this body. But it seems as though from day one, individuals on this council, individuals on staff have actually been working against me, simply to either stifle me or simply label me as though somehow the information that I have is inaccurate. But yet, your document in reference to the water fund states very clearly the increase of $1,924,746, or 63% increase, is attributed to the increase in water rates which were implemented in March 2012. And that's in your document, it's in my agenda packet. My point is that in order to move this city forward, staff has to be accurate, has to be unbiased, cannot play favorites. You cannot say, well, you know, the goal, I want to keep my position, so I'm going to present information in a tainted fashion. You simply have to be straight down the line, middle of the road. Just be fair. That's all, just be fair. And I've told you this one-on-one many times. Just be fair. You don't have to go to the left, you don't have to go to the right, you don't have to support me. But definitely do not taint information to imply that somehow Councilman Stevens, upon a political side, you're going. See, because then it becomes political. It's no longer just the information.
Okay, Councilman Stevens,
it's political.
You're at time. Mr. Sparza, could you bring some clarity to the issue, please?
What we'd like to do, Mayor, if you don't mind, is give the overall presentation, and then we'll do that. Okay. And then I think it might answer some of Councilmember Stevens' questions.
Please do.
You can stand at the podium if you like, wherever, whatever you like.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Madam Treasurer, Madam Clerk. I am David Esparzi, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, and this is my first quarter report that I'm presenting to the City of Inglewood. Last year, you started the presentation with a snapshot of key economic indicators, and so I wanted to start this one in the same fashion. So these are the key economic indicators that have been used in the past, and they should be fairly well understood, you know, by everybody in the audience and in our departments. As we can see, in this, property taxes currently are slightly increased in the taxable value, and so it's pointing to a very good sign for the city. Sales tax are also up 6% over the last 5 quarters. Building permits are up with a modest increase as well, and so we are using this as an indicator for, you know, new businesses and remodels that may be happening in the city. Utility user tax. We've seen an increase in water and a decrease in telecom, so it's roughly staying fairly stable. Hotel tax, or the transient occupancy tax, is also going up with higher room usage. Hollywood Park, that is remaining stable, and we have not looking at any increase in that particular area because those fees have been set at 2009 levels, and so that they will continue to be stable throughout. Unemployment in the region is down, which is a good sign as well. And the last one there for city expenditures, they're also down or under budget. So this is where we started, last year, and I think it's a good place to again start this year. Starting point for the general fund budget on October 1st was that revenues were at $78.9 million. Expenditures were at $83.3 million, which left a shortfall of $4.3 million. However, the budget that was approved contains a strategy to bridge the shortfall. If you remember, the first part of that was a workforce reduction or furloughs that were to net a savings of $2.5 million. Vacant positions also netted us a savings of $1.3 million. Revenues from fee increases were to bring $250,000 of new revenues to the city, although I'll comment on that a little bit later because we're showing that is good. We're going to fall short of that by year end. And the final part to this is the administrative efficiencies for $250,000 as well. All right. So together, all of those add up to the $4.3 million shortfall, and these are part of the budget strategy for getting the city of Inglewood through fiscal year 2012-13. Part of that budget strategy was that to negotiate with all the various groups, bargaining groups, to extend the furloughs, and we've, in December of last year, we finished those negotiations, and all the bargaining groups did in fact agree to sign on again for the furloughs, and so that did come to fruition as far as the strategy was concerned. This was the general fund savings of $2.5 million. Freezing vacant positions was also part of the strategy. Total general fund authorized positions was 448 at the start of the year. Currently, there are 20 positions vacant, meaning that we have 428 full filled positions or full-time FTE. And that was anticipated to provide an additional savings of $1.3 million. However, currently, we're on track to save about 1.4. Now, I also put an asterisk here under this because we have not gone through the full year, and so there are going to be various MOU directed step increases which will have to be incorporated into the budget. So the good news is that we're tracking consistently with our strategy in this particular area. Next is the increase in user fees. Now, this is what we were talking about earlier, and that, the estimation of the additional $250,000 is likely to fall short. And I say that as we look at this particular point, because some of those adjustments to fees will take some time to implement within this fiscal year. So we will not get the full 12 months benefit of any of those fee increases. As a matter of fact, next week I will be bringing to the council a fee study proposal that will look at the adjustment of those fees and also some other policy issues. So the first quarter revenue, general fund revenue, and this is where we now start to look at how we are performing. You can see by this table that we have 2012-2013 budgeted revenues. Now, this is the full year, not the quarter portion. So we're showing the full $78.9 million. Now, the next column is the actual revenues received as of the end of the first quarter, and that would be December 31st. And then this is the percent received at quarter end in comparison to what 25% of the revenues would be at this point, and not the 15,000. So, or the first column. As you can see in the utility users tax, there's 25%, which means that we are tracking, right on the money with in that particular category. Property taxes, you can see, are 37%. Now, I want to also make mention that some of the taxes that we received are cyclical or seasonal in nature. So we receive our property taxes in December, and then we receive the next one in March. So it comes in two fairly large buckets, and that's the reason why you can see right here that we've collected 37%, and we'll be receiving another payment, a large payment in March. The same with the sales tax and all the other ones. The state collected taxes, those will be dropped into our coffers in January and again in March. I believe it's March. Yeah. And so, all in all, our utility users tax are up by $169,000 or 5%. The sales tax are up $233,000 or 19%. Property taxes are up about $1.4 million or 28%, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Other local taxes are up $69,000 or 3%. Now, the property tax that we're seeing here is, and I have it in parentheses, is that as a result of the city losing its redevelopment agency back in last year, those property taxes will now be coming to the city instead of being held by the redevelopment agency for redevelopment development in those project areas. So that will be actually a very nice plus for the city as we move forward. Now this is, and I say the 2.5, that's a full annual amount that we are expecting in the increase. So again, as we proportion that over the full fiscal year, it does spread out a little bit thinner. And so, the good news is that we have some very good indicators here that our revenues are starting to move in a positive direction. So here is a chart that basically then shows where we are and where we're likely to be at the end of the year. And so you can see that the first quarter is kind of grouped out there. The bottom line in this particular chart, the brown or burgundy line, is the month receipts. And then that green line that you see right above it is the accumulated amount. And so the trend line off of those 3 months right here, the green line, project a fairly straight and consistent line with our budget throughout the year. Now, again, I want to make sure that you understand that the caveat is that we're going to be receiving other revenues throughout the year that are going to have this line start to fluctuate. And so I would actually expect it to go above the trend line in January and February because we're getting large pots of money then. And then it'll start to drop down below the trend line as we go through. And again, by the end of the year, we're expecting that we will be right on track where we had projected. Budget tolerance. This is one, I added this slide to give you an idea as to how we look at the both our expenditures and our receipts of revenues. And so in looking at it, we know that there's a lot of fluctuation in those numbers in the first quarter. So October, November, December, those numbers are still, bouncing up and down a little bit, but then they start to smooth out as we get through January, February, into March, and then, March and into May through that period of time. And by June and July, we should be within about 2% of where we're going to end up at the end of the year. And then August and September, we should be right on the money within 1%. So that's the way we are managing, or we're projecting our revenues and also managing our expenditures. So the expenditures through the first quarter also are looking very good. As you can see here, that if you use the percentage of 25, then our total, our total expenditures right there at 22% indicate that we are 3% below what we had projected at this particular time. And again, I placed the caveat out there so that you understand that we're expecting fluctuation. And so this will widen and it'll narrow through the next 9 months. So, however, I did the same trend line for the expenditures as I did for the revenues. And you can see that in this particular trend line, that this right here is tracking significantly below the expected expenditures in which we've established our budget, and are tracking lower than the revenues from the previous chart. So all in all, we're starting the year off very prudent and cautious, and we expect that these trend lines will start to close in on the city's actual budget trend line, which is this line right there. And all this is, and to explain why that is, just straight, is that it's a simple assessment of taking the annual budget and dividing it by 12. All right? Fully understanding that even within that, there's going to be fluctuations, up and down. So, expenditures through October through December 31st, police and fire services are down $860,000, or about 6.8%. And again, we have some other contracts that will have to be fulfilled with fire services, so that will start to even out as well. Economic and community development is down $31,000, or 5.6%. General government is up $2.6 million, or 356%. And I say that because we made a large payment, in the first quarter, which was not recorded in the first quarter of last year. And so, although the magnitude looks great, it actually is consistent with what our expenses in this particular area are throughout the year, because we won't be making, payments, to, the pension programs and health care, through the next few months, and then that will start to even out. Parks and Rec is up $69,000, or 5.7%. Public Works is up $91,000, or 6.3%. Overall general fund expenditures are down 3%, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier. And the good news that we're containing our costs, monitoring our expenses and expenditures in order to make sure that we stay on track with our budget. Special funds, again, this is another part of our budget. These are special funds that are collected for specific purposes or services. And the purpose here is that you can't spend more than you collect. All right? Now, that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, we also know that within there are some general fund backfilling of certain expenses that we're trying to catch up on. And we are looking to adjust those fees that may be necessary, which is something we will talk about in next week's presentation. Questions?
Well, Mr. Sparser or Mr. Falco, now I want to go back into this issue that the councilman brought up about the 63 total increase in the fund balance for the water. Now, back when we went through the process, if I recall, For the average residential user, it came in two different increments, a 28% hike and followed by a 12% hike, if I recall.
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. In March, on the 3rd of March 2012, we had a presentation that included a slide. I'm actually looking at the original presentation from that date, and the residential increase was not 58%. It came in two phases, as you indicated. The first was 28%, and the second was 12%.
Okay?
And
now, in addition to that, there's another side of it. There was a commercial side. Is that correct? Was
Yes,
that
sir.
higher than the residential? And was
Yes,
that
sir.
explained? And what was that?
And we're getting the exact commercial rate. I've just asked the Public Works Director to get that number for me. But it's a blended rate that would be reflected, I believe. I'll let David mention, but I believe it is a blended rate, looking at the report. And as a result, the commercial rates, because the volume is so much higher and the rate increase was higher, it would obviously tend to pull up the total overall to be much more significant than the 28 and 12 respectively.
So the residential average, that is not made inaccurate by the fact that there's a higher fund balance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In addition to that, just because you have a total fund balance is some percentage, that doesn't mean that the original rates were inaccurate. Could there have been greater water use by commercial customers that would drive that total fund balance up? So it doesn't impact what the rates were for the residential
Correct.
customers. There are a number of factors that could be factored into that 63%. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I just wanted to explain that. It's just not that simple, that because the fund balance is 63% greater, and that's good because now we have more money to do capital projects. The fact of the matter is that what the public was told regarding residential rates was accurate. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Mr. Spurs. That was a very, very good presentation. Mr. Atwell?
I was just going to comment on the commercial rates. They went up 50%. And also, sometimes there's billing anomalies where bills are actually received after the meeting is over. But we can look into it a little bit further.
But again, Mr. Atwell, and you have experience in running water utilities, the fact that a fund balance is a certain percentage, that's not a direct reflection of what the actual rate increases are, because the total volume of water used factors into what that total increase could be. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Councilwoman Dunlap. Okay, well, all right.
I thought somebody else was.
No one is
then I have a question
A1?
then.
All right.
Yes,
Councilwoman Dunlap?
actually, with regard to working on the budget, and thank you, Mr. Esparza, I appreciate the presentation. One impact do you believe it has with the ongoing discretionary raises that are being given, the impact on the budget, and whether or not it's something that we should be doing, considering we still have a shortfall and employees are still on furlough and so forth?
Well, can you hear? Oh, okay. The discretion, and let me make sure that I understand what you're talking about, because discretionary means that it's at the wish of the direction of either the city manager or the council, can make that decision. Now, those raises that are not discretionary.
Well, I'm only speaking right now with regard to discretionary. We have some that are mandated by our MOUs.
Right.
I'm not speaking of those.
Okay, all right. So, and
Can you repeat the question? I was talking when you asked the original question. I might be able to provide some more insight.
Okay, well, I asked the question with regard to the fact that we laid off employees. We offered early retirement, and we put and employees agreed to furlough to save the city with regard to our massive structural deficit, to sort of get our house in order. And I've had employees express to me some concerns that while they're making these sacrifices, other employees are being given raises.
Right. I can tell you, under all circumstances, there are certain employees that are governed by MOUs.
What? Okay,
I'm
so you
just gonna-
missed my
I'm-
question.
No, I'm going to just
No, but
answer
it's on
full.
my time, and
Okay.
I already eliminated that. I'm
Okay,
aware
okay,
those raises that are
So I can tell you that.
product of the MOU
Okay, I'll give you a more
are
direct
given.
answer
I'm
then.
speaking very clearly
Yeah.
about discretionary.
Right. And so what I would say to that is that we had a discussion in closed session regarding that subject matter, and it was the direction at that time was not to move forward with. We did not receive direction to not provide discretionary raises to employees. So that was not part of our budget strategy in this fiscal year. In the event that the council should direct me or recommend that we do include that as part of our strategy, that would take place as part of the 13-14 fiscal year budget, but that's not a part of the strategy for balancing our budget this year.
You've responded to my question. I only have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. I would like to say, Mr. Fields, since as a city manager, you oversee the personnel system of the city. Actually, I think some of this rests upon you, and some of these things don't come to us. I understand when I believe a morale problem is developing because employees are on furlough, taking a 10% pay cut, and then they see other people getting raises. Over the same period of time that they're taking a 10%, over 2 years, other employees are getting a 10% raise. That doesn't seem fair to them, and I have to say I share that. I think everyone should have an equal burden here, and some employees should not be getting raises. So I would like for you to take a look at that as you believe that affects the morale of the city. In addition to the fact it's costly, I believe last year we gave like $140,000 in raises. I'm not certain, I'd have to go back and review those documents, but I have a real issue when we're trying to save money and then yet we're giving raises. It doesn't make sense. So I would just like you to be thinking about that in your role as to how it may impact morale. I have another question with regard to business taxes. I didn't see it listed separate out here. How do we collect business taxes from an entity that's not required to have a business license because they don't have a physical business in the city of Inglewood? I'm just trying, I don't know, so I'm asking.
Okay. And I looked into this earlier, and actually one of my staff members who was here earlier would have been the expert to provide that information. But the way we do it is that we have revenue inspectors that go out and look for contractors, businesses that come into the city in order to do fairly high volume work. All right, so we're not talking about landscapers and just people who come in and then leave fairly quickly. And so they are constantly in contact with construction firms and construction sites, different other businesses that you could see this this type of activity occurring. And so when they see that, they then make the approach and get more information as
Thank
to
you.
them.
With 9 seconds left. Thank you
Okay.
very much. That answers the question for me. It's more or less we have to find them.
We have to find them.
Mr. Fields, the group called CSC, who was contracted with probably over 100 employees in the city of Inglewood, with the California Science Center, they contracted to provide services in the city of Inglewood. They did not have a business license because they don't have a business in the city. But could we verify that these entities paid the proper business taxes? I mean, this is revenue
Yes, we
to
can.
us. I just want to make sure we're not missing out.
Yes.
Actually, Mr. Fields, they did, under an umbrella agreement with the space shuttle process, they did pay taxes to the city.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad you know that. All I asked was, could that information be provided with regard to business taxes?
we can do
Because
that.
obviously, we're talking about raising taxes and fees on residents of this community, Mayor, and I want to make sure that people who come in here and do a lot of business making money, and they don't have a physical location here, that we're collecting appropriate taxes. And I
We
think that's
did,
appropriate.
and they did.
Mayor, can
I would like verification. Thank you.
Mayor, can I just bring some clarity? I just want the council and the mayor to know that with regard to raises in the city, all employees, as you're aware, are furloughed and are receiving the 10% reduction. However, whether or not they're under an MOU or whether or not they're not, they're all still getting, if they're not at the top of their step, a salary increase. So it's a misrepresentation to say that only the folks who are not the discretionary employees are getting raises and the employees that are under MOUs are not.
No, wait, excuse me.
I just wanted to let the council know
I
that.
didn't need an explanation of the
Well,
MOU
I'm
because
letting
I
the
knew that
council and
they
the
were
mayor-
being given and that was
Okay.
appropriate.
All right, okay.
That's all. So, please, thank you.
Councilman Morales.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Esparza, for the report. It's actually been one of the more positive reports we've received in the last few years, so
Thank you.
I can appreciate that. Can you spend a little bit of time just clarifying again? I know there was an increase in property tax revenue, but how it isn't an increase in property taxes as much as it is a result
Revenue
from the
sharing.
redevelopment changes.
Actually, it's both. Okay, we are seeing about a 1% increase in our property taxes, if we were to just keep it consistent with last year's measures, all right? So, however, we are seeing that 1% increase, but we all are expecting then to have the additional 2.5 that used to be kept with the redevelopment agency now come back into our general fund coffers.
Right, okay. And then just to continue another item, can you expand a little bit on you mentioned the fees that we received from Hollywood Park, the 3.9 million, I believe, and in regards to why we're receiving that now and how that impacts like future fees from them, as well as, I know that we're kind of negotiating the fact that we'd be receiving 1.7 throughout the construction, right?
Well, and actually, the contract, the development contract with Hollywood Park requires that they, over the period of time of the development, that they make the city whole for loss of revenues. Now, that would be sales tax revenues, betting, tax revenues, and all of those that might have been impacted by their development of Hollywood Park. And so the 1.3, the 3.9,
Right.
excuse me, is actually the first payment to that end. Because we're now, as we go into this fiscal year, that will be used to replenish those fees that we are starting to lose. All right? And I can also assure you that that money is sitting in an interest-bearing account.
Okay, that's, thank you.
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, just a couple comments. Mr. Fields, I think it's critical that this report reflect that this is the Inglewood report on water funds. And I say that specifically because several council districts have other agencies that provide basic water, and Golden State Water is not inclusive of this report.
That's correct.
Nor is the American Water Company that also provides water to our Inglewood residents. That is not part of this report.
That is correct.
The only thing that this does include that all of us are involved in was that increase involving the sewer rate increase, which affected all the city residents equally throughout the city. So I want to make sure that those residents that may be viewing this broadcast clearly understand that this is those residents that is currently receiving water from the city of Inglewood, and Golden State Water and the American Company Water customers are not part of that report that you heard my colleague reference with reference to the water funds. I just want to make sure that was on the record there.
All right, thank you. That's, Mr. City Manager, that's your report, A1. Mr. City Attorney, I know there's no. CC1, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share with the residents and our candidates that we need people to work the polls. We are short poll workers. Many of the people that have worked in the past have either passed on or their numbers have changed and we haven't had a way to connect with them. So we're recruiting poll workers. And we also want to remind folks that March the 18th is the last day to register to vote. And we will have early voting in the city clerk's office, and it starts on March 4th. And that's the end of my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Treasurer, CT1.
Yes, it's just want to make the council and those that's attended that I did make a couple of investments. And one was a federal farm credit bond that I bought last Wednesday, and it has a coupon of 1.10. It's a 5-year, non-call for 1 year. So assuming that the interest rates do not go up, in all likelihood, I'll have that bond until it's called. But sure, and also I bought a Fannie Mae bond, and it has a 1.15 coupon, and it too is a 5-year non-call for 1 year. And I want to point out Fannie and Freddie, of course, own roughly about 70% of all of the mortgages. So I do think that the President and the Congress and the Senate will do something regarding Fannie and Freddie, but they're going nowhere, and that they own such a large part of the mortgage market. And I would like to point out, with regards to the bills that we've paid thus far, just that the city is doing quite well. We're not missing any payments of our bills that one of the residents came up and spoke about. We're doing quite well there. We paid thus far this year, this fiscal year, $56,274,192.80 in all of our bills. Just the month of January, we paid roughly about $13 million in bills, and the net payroll for the month of January was roughly about $3.7 million, and the total for the month is approximately $16.8 million. But again, that does not include the gross payroll, that is the net payroll. And I would like to point out also, with regards to our bond indebtedness, I'd like to point out that we have made all of our interest payment on all bond indebtedness during the 25 years that I've served as treasurer, have not missed a beat there. And our bonds are investment grade, and would like to point out, just about 6 months ago, when we did a refi of a bond issue of our Civic Center, slightly under $30 million, it was a financial success. Not only was it a financial success, we also resulted in some interest savings, for the entity. So we're doing okay in that respect also. And I would like to point out just a little information on the state. The state's average portfolio for the month of January was roughly about $21 billion. And the interest rate that was earned on those funds was roughly about 0.32%, which is still quite low. So interest rates are still quite low. And their average daily portfolio for the year was roughly about $63.6 billion. And the earnings on $63.6 billion was about $243 million. Again, the interest rate was quite low. And I'd like to point out also, I did attend a very good conference there at Cal Poly last week. It was a California Municipal Treasurers Conference. It was excellent. Had some very good presentations on bond investments, and also we did a mock portfolio. So it was a very good conference, and I enjoyed it. It was a 1.5 day conference. That concludes my comments and my report.
Thank you. Public comment. Any person with...
No, we have...
I'm sorry, my CSA, call to Inglewood, City of Inglewood as a successor agency to order.
A quorum is present.
CSA 2.
Approval of the minutes held October 16th and December 11th, 2012.
So moved. Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members, Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye. CSA 3.
Staff report recommending approval of a professional service agreement with Kaiser Marston and Associates to provide economic consulting services.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members, Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye. Adjourn the City of Inglewood as a successor agency. Public comment. Any person wishing to address City Council on any matter not connected with city business, not elsewhere articulated on the agenda, may do so at this time.
Cecil Carpio, 40-year resident of Inglewood. February 1st, 1973 is when I moved here. Yay! On January 30, is that working?
I think it is.
On January 31st of this year, my mayor went before the Board of Airport Commissioners to speak about the subject of the north runway of the north complex at Los Angeles International Airport being moved north over 200 feet or closer to Westchester. That was part of what was on the agenda for the day. And you asked BOAC to do the right thing. And we didn't specify what the right thing is, and I realized then that I'm out of the loop because I don't know what you as representatives of the today at the Board of Airport Commissioners, they did approve a series of improvements which included, if we want to call it an improvement, well, this is about as loud as I can get, and I won't say it's kind of rude if I said that. I'm almost on top of the microphone now. I hope, well, there we go. Can I start all over again? Because maybe the folks at home can't hear me. Anyway, the real business here is that if you would please spend a few moments speaking to the city's position and how you represent that position about the movement of the north runway closer to Westchester, which will impact, of course, the city of Inglewood, and what you believe is, or you as representative of the city believe is the right thing for the Board of Airport Commissioners to do. And as I was saying, today they approved that movement of the northern runway closer to Westchester, which impacts a whole lot of us in Inglewood. Thank you.
Mayor, I would just like to share with you that Ms. Carpio is a former Aviation Commission member, and she's been very active in this field, and she's very knowledgeable.
Thank you. Alfonso?
It's me again, Alfonso Parker Jr., Vietnam veteran, conscious objector, America's dirty little secret. We were in Vietnam with no weapons. I spoke to the issue of the bonds earlier, downgraded by Moody. It's the lease revenue bond series 2012 to BAA2 from BAA1, and the city pension obligation bonds 2005 Series A, Series B to BAA2 from A3. Both of those come together to $90 million that the city of Inglewood lost. On the issue of the meetings that we've been, oh, by the way, it's nice to see us back to normal with the normal, sergeant at arms. We're not vicious people here, never have been. This document, I spoke to Ms. Horton about this today. I finally got a hold of it, and thank you, Councilman Stevens, for your copy. This document here, I've been vetted as a, what you call vetted, security clearance since I was 18 years old out of high school, 4 months. And I'm 69, and I quit working in '88, so I've been vetted through DOD. This document does not meet the standards, privacy or anything else, even at your level, being federal. You must follow DOD directive as to how to handle and treat classified materials. This document does not meet the 3 areas. First, what I called, or what they called when I was in, it had to be encoded. That means it is designated a classified, confidential, private, secret, top secret, whatever. I've had those. Doesn't meet that standard. Then it has to meet the standard of where it is stored. And then receivable. Those are the 3 areas it must cover to be legitimate. This does not meet any of those. There's no markings on there to show where it came from, and I spoke with Ms. Horn today about it. She just knows it showed up in a letter. She didn't know who it came from, where it came from, just a lady. She doesn't know the lady, never seen her, and that's all she knows. But in her last conversation, I think she mentioned that Mr. Artie Fields and her, somehow they both had their hands on it. And in the next meeting, we couldn't find out who was who in the first place. The next meeting, Mr. Franklin stood up and said it was somebody, senior citizen or something like that, in his district. Well, what happened is, this doesn't qualify. First of all, the markings are not distinct. You can't read it. Plus, it's reversed, which means dealing with documents all my life. Somebody lifted a transparency and put the stamp on it, but they didn't pay attention. When they put the stamp on it, it was reversed upside down. So the stamp was not put on there properly. And then you've got more than one type of document. One page here is one document, the rest are another form, and some of them don't even have any markings or stamps on it to show that it was received. So as far as I'm concerned, even the misnomer stamp and the one in the back are the only 2 that are stamped. Anybody could have stuck this in there. Nobody knows where it came from or how it got in the system, how to change these meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
And
Mr. Parker, thank you, sir.
may I have one more minute?
No, you might. No, Mr. Parker.
You get, y'all give each other minutes.
Mr. Parker, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Y'all need to get some lawyers. You're messing with federal documents. The minute you federalize you are federalized. You must follow DOD, even at your level.
Thank you, Mr.
And they
Parker.
put out constant bulletins every time there's a change, and you sign for it, even if you don't follow it. That's if you were ever vetted.
Ma'am, please, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I wanted to address the board, mayor, everyone here. These are my neighbors in back of me, and they'll speak also, but we're having a serious problem in our area. It's regarding, I hope I'm not out of line, regarding our neighbor Regina Hadnot. And there's a history of mental illness there by her own admission. And why we're here today is that we don't want what happened and has happened in the past with mental conditions where people are going around shooting up people and doing all this other stuff. In our neighborhood, we've addressed the police department. We've addressed Councilman Franklin. He knows a little bit about it. We've met with the ex-police chief, Stokes, and we deal with the police department on a regular basis. And we're not getting anywhere with this. And we've come to you to ask, where do we go? Where do we get help for this lady, okay? It's not about us trying to vindictively go after it. Our lives are at stake. I'm afraid to walk out of my house every day because I gotta watch and see what she's doing. She's constantly calling the police. The police have one time recorded her calling 100 times in one day. And then she vindictively tried to do things to us in the neighborhood. She's laid down in front of our cars to see, you know, if we come out and we might run over her, then we're gonna be at fault. So I've come here to ask for help because I don't want anything bad to happen. She's already threatened our lives. Police are out at our house constantly. My husband is not here today, but he's sick, and I don't want this on him. It's a stress. I'm just at my wit's end. Everyone's at their wit's end. We don't know what to do. We've asked for help. Nobody's willing to help us. Nobody's telling us what to do. She's in jail right now for the second time in 2 weeks. The police are telling us, okay, we're trying to work with this, we're trying to do this, but nothing is being done. And I'm afraid for my neighborhood. I want it on record. If anything happens, I came here today to try to get help because our neighborhood is right now, it's just horrible to even live over there. I lived there for 26 years, been a homeowner for 36. I'm retired, I'm home every day. I see what she does. And so we're coming here begging, pleading for help today. My other neighbors will tell you their concerns, but that is my concern. I don't want anybody hurt on my block. So I'm asking you, if you have anybody that we can go to, what we can do, you can write me, you can talk to me, I'll wait. Just give me some answers, please.
Okay, ma'am, you said that she's been arrested.
Mayor.
He's aware of it, but
Councilman
she's
Franklin?
arrested right now. She's in,
Okay.
I guess she's in the mental thing right now, but she only gets 4 days and then they medicate her and they release her.
All right, go ahead, Councilman Franklin.
So, elaborating to her concerns, we have Officer Cavazos, that is the senior lead officer that's spearheading this. There's a special ad hoc committee that's been formed with the law enforcement and our city attorney's offices on what legally we can do as a city regarding the constant challenge that we're dealing with, the person that is dealing with multi-personalities. And in fact, just like you said, that when the steps are being taken to place her under observation, the agencies release her after 72 hours. We're now working on other means that legally that the city can do because we identify that it's not only injury to herself, but primarily to the neighbors as well. So I just want you to know the chief and our city attorney is on top of that.
Okay.
Well, we have the restraining orders, but when the police come out, we become the victims. That's what I don't understand. I don't understand that.
Thank you.
Good evening. Sergeant Cavazos is trying to help us out as much as possible, but according to him, he's not getting backup from his superiors. And I understand you said that you're working on it. You've been working on it year after year. It's almost 3 years now. It's impossible to live there because when we go out, she's threatening us. She's bringing people from around the neighborhood that are up to no good, and they'll do anything for a dime. They'll go and shoot us without thinking twice. And the responses we get from the police is, oh, she's just sick. Don't worry about it. She's just sick. Well, that's when you have to worry the most because they are sick. And those are the people that go off the deep end. And that's the person that will not think twice about shooting you. She's made our lives impossible to live there. I mean, like my neighbor said, really need someone to help us. And working on it, year after year, it's just not good enough anymore. Because we have to live like this on a daily basis, and it's a terrible way to live. So please, please help us. Working on it is not good enough anymore. Please. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm also one of the neighbors on 118th Street in Inglewood. I first moved in 1991. Everything was so nice and peaceful. We used to have our block parties there. We would go out, we would come to the city hall, get permits to have our street blocked and all enjoy games and fun, food and everything else. But Mrs. Regina now doesn't. She used to be head net. You know, has a history of being sick, you know, bipolar. And we cannot trust people with this bipolar disease because they could be nice today or right now, and 2 minutes later, they change their attitude, their behavior, and this is very dangerous for everyone in the block and even around the neighborhood where the stores, because she's been at Rite Aid, she's been at Burlington Coat, she's been everywhere in the stores, you know, causing all kinds of problems. Mr. Franklin knows she came over to his house, demanding I don't know what, but when she started hating me was because of I wouldn't go along with her to sue the city of Inglewood. Why? Because there was a very heavily and ugly stink flowing through our canal. We called many times to have this solved, and nothing was done for at least 2 weeks. And that's when she invited me to join with her and sue the city of Inglewood. I says, I do not want to do that. She says, you will regret it, okay? After that, she became really ill. It has been 3 years now that she's been on and off. She's been arrested. I got an envelope filled with trash that she wrote for me and my wife, all kinds of things that she got out of the Bible, and, you know, I mean, just a whole lot of disturbing messages. And nowadays, you know, I just cannot rest at night because I'm thinking, what if she comes and sets our house on fire? My girls, you know, we have 3 daughters. We've been paying a lot of money to educate our girls. Thank God, one of them graduated as an RN now. She has a job, and we have to watch when she comes home. When the other girl that's still going to college comes home, just last night, she calls me. She says, there is a man walking around Regina's house. Can you come out and watch me come in the house? It was the husband. He's a coward. He comes in when she's not home, when she's locked up in a medical facility or in jail, and then he leaves when she comes home, okay? He's not taking responsibility of his wife. And I don't understand why when Mr. Cavazos tries to have the members of the city back him up to do something to help this lady. I don't want her to be put in jail because of her illness, but I would like for her to get some sort of medical attention or whatever you guys can do about it.
One thing, sir, though, you know, there are definite rules and laws.
I understand that.
But I want to be clear on this. If she's being detained for 72-hour and 14-day holds.
It's not enough.
I understand. Listen, sir, but if the doctors release her, the city nor any of Cavazos' superiors have any authority to make them hold her longer. So it looks like we have to try and find out what the total situation is in working with Harbor General. But I just don't want to let this perception exist that somehow his superiors can do more than the mental health system. We don't institutionalize people. Unfortunately, we arrest and criminalize them. But I definitely hear you. I definitely am going to speak to the department and try and find out what the totality of the circumstance is. But one thing I don't want you to leave out of here thinking that somehow or another Cavazos or the police department can cause a psychiatric facility to hold her longer than the state maximums. They either determine that someone is no longer a danger to themselves and others and they release them, or they hold them longer. So unfortunately, that's the system that we have now. We don't institutionalize people. But that being said, I definitely intend to personally look into your problem.
Just 1 second.
All right.
3 times. She's stopped in the middle of the street, blocking me from getting out to work. And she's being arrested. Oh, one more point I want to make. We have the restraining orders. Sergeant Cavazos just told me Monday last week that our restraining orders are not recorded in the court of Inglewood. How can they arrest her if she violates our restraining orders? How can this happen?
Well,
I mean, the restraining orders were issued to me by the judge.
They could be filed in Torrance. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Thank you.
All right.
Mayor, if I can just expand to his
Councilman
comment.
Frank.
He's the neighbor to the lady in question. The officers advised me that you and the other young lady that spoke, that you had filed restraining orders, but they weren't recorded at the courts. So therefore, they could not use that. They're using the Rincon's restraining order, which was filed in court, and I worked on that. So we can talk about how we can get yours activated as well.
Well, Mr. Rincon once called the police because his restraining order was violated, and they came and they told him the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
How you guys doing? My name is Cesar Rincon. This is Director of District 4. This is regarding Regina Dotson. Like my neighbors talking about, this situation's been going on for 3 years. It has put a lot of stress on my family, my wife, my job. She's using the system to get restraining orders against us, harassing us that way. And my kids, my wife, we can't even go outside, and I can't even go cut my grass because she's constantly harassing me, threatening my wife, use a lot of racial remarks. Ross Franklin's been to my house, and
Mr. Rincon, is she a renter or is she a homeowner?
I'm a homeowner.
No, is she a renter or a homeowner?
She's a homeowner in foreclosure.
Okay.
She has bring different people in the neighborhood, gang members. She had a sex offender, was taking pictures of my neighbors' daughters and my daughters, and we had my neighbor, Art Perlosa, got a restraining order. We got him out of there. Okay. And she's constantly bringing drug addicts, gang members, like I said, sex offenders, and this is really taking a toll on her.
Her home's in foreclosure?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's an avenue, okay.
But with the foreclosure, she could stay there for another year or 2, 3 years. You know, we just really want some help. We can't live like this. You know, we paying our mortgage, we're paying our taxes to the city. She has called the police department over 2,000 times for the past 6 months. That's what Sergeant Cavazos told us. That's a lot of taxpayer wasted money. It's coming out of all our homeowners' pockets we paying. I think that's an issue you guys should look into, please.
We would definitely look
She's
into
calling the ambulance. She's faking. She's ill. She's not, you know, she's just manipulating the system to get to us. And we really need some help. We can't live like this. I tried to sell my house a year ago. I couldn't sell my house because she was out there making a lot of threats to us, and the people that trying to buy my house didn't want to live with that kind of person. She's very ill. We really want some help. We can't live like this.
Okay, we
I think
definitely
enough is enough.
hear you.
Yeah, before something tragedy happens, I mean, we really need some help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Teresa Pedrosa, and I just want to tell you I feel for myself and for my family and my neighbors, and I just hope that there's something you guys can do to help us. She's not just wasting, you know, our time. I just want, another thing I wanted to mention was that she's taken us to court as well. You know, we've gotten a restraining order against us, but she's also filed one, and we've had to go to court numerous times. My time comes out of my vacation time, and that is not no vacation time to sit in court all day. And, you know, that's money that's taken away from our family, from my family time, to go sit in court because she has some ridiculous order against us. And it's just, it's frustrating that nobody can do anything about it.
Mr. Fisher?
Again, Mayor and Council, Leroy Fisher, First District, and as a resident, I am also seeking the First District Council seat. Mayor, but you said in answer to my query that I should know which properties you them are interested in selling.
No, I didn't say that, sir.
Well,
I didn't say you should know.
Okay. Again, I say to you all that we have every right to know what properties are being negotiated for sale. There are a lot of properties all up and down Century. And my concern is that even though Madison Square Gardens is going to need some additional parking, we've got a lot of property in Inglewood that are vacant lots. Do we own them? Did they go back to the state with redevelopment? And if they are negotiating on those properties, and we, the taxpayers, we have to know, and I don't want to keep hearing about what we can't know. I heard all that nonsense all the time you were in negotiations for a police chief, when you finally hired Foderato, who you were going to hire no matter, And as I was one of the only residents that came in here that Wednesday morning to suggest reasons that we might have better candidates in this city, Councilman Morales wasn't even here to hear my thoughts. We've heard them in the past. But, my whole point is that you them think that you can take a few little votes and control this city. We, the residents, pay the taxes. We, the residents, have a right to know what's going on with all manners of this city. You're not doing anything for us, and by that I mean you're not bringing any business into the city. And the business that you do bring into this city, in my mind, is really second rate, and it's all repetitious. Whether it's DD's in the First District, whether it's T-Mobile all over this city, and you're talking about taxes earlier. I'll bet you a dime to a dollar that nobody really knows about those of us who pay T-Mobile and the amount of taxes that you should be getting from that business. And more than that, with regard to the property that is on 85th and Crenshaw, it's time for Mr. Stevens to be involved and tell the people that what they're going to do with that property. We don't need another dollar store. And you should get involved with the community and let us know what your thoughts are. And we don't need another dollar store. We got too many of them there now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, Mayor, with regard to his comment about the parcels is public information. I wanted to bring this up earlier when you said it was confidential. The parcel numbers are listed on the closed session. So it is public information, and it's nothing wrong with the city actually showing what those parcels are on a map. And I believe that map should be made available because the information is not confidential. So, and that actually responds better to his question.
I agree with you. Mr. Teixeira?
So maybe Mr. Fields could make sure that's made available. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Teixeira. Inglewood City Charter and website indicate that the city clerk handles the city archives and public records requests. And although the clerk's office regularly blames the city attorney and IPD for illegal delays in my records requests, it is obvious that my requests have been illegally delayed by whoever to hide written and recorded evidence that our police department endangers Inglewood's men, women, and children with a standard practice of avoiding investigating some shootings in Inglewood. State law gives the city 10 days to respond to records requests, but I still haven't got public records that I requested at least 5 times beginning over 16 months ago, some that Chief Foderato personally told me he would look into. And this council hides audio recordings of IPD misconduct, first by lying, saying that it was illegal for me to play them here, and since then turning off the cameras when I play recordings, ejecting me from the building, and even having a police officer try to wrestle a tape recorder out of my hand. So why are so many people on this horseshoe concerned about someone playing tape recordings in a meeting? And why are they breaking the rules and breaking the law just to keep the public from hearing those tape recordings? It's because you all know that the tapes that I now have, some that you tried so very hard to hide, show dozens of examples of incompetent, unethical, and dangerous acts by IPD officers, detectives, a captain, and at least one chief. Those tapes prove that the night my neighbor's teenage son and his friend were the victims of an attempted murder, IPD dispatchers told officers to go to the wrong house, which is apparently why IPD killed Kevin Wicks about 4 years ago, and why Inglewood had to pay Wicks' family over $2 million. Those tapes prove dispatchers didn't tell officers that there were at least 3 witnesses and at least 2 victims to the shooting on my street. One victim I told dispatchers lived on my street. Those tapes prove that even after I called back and told officers that one victim lived on my street, IPD repeatedly refused to even try to talk to him, giving lame excuses like shooting a gun out of a car in Inglewood isn't really a crime, and that if someone gets shot in Inglewood, there must have been a reason, and that IPD doesn't investigate a shooting unless the actual victim of the shooting calls IPD, which would be pretty hard to do if you're dead or dying. Those tapes prove that IPD refused to investigate the crime but told me to collect bullet shells for them, and that IPD tried to scare me out of filing a report on the shooting. IPD never even wrote a police report on the attempted murder of 2 people in Inglewood. All this and much more is on those tapes. Most importantly, those tapes prove that IPD has consistently tried to hide its misconduct from the public, and that this entire council helped by allowing Mayor Butts, IPD's Captain Sissick, and former Chief Seabrooks to repeatedly come to these meetings and lie, denying that IPD did anything wrong. All I can say is, sooner or later it's going to come out, and you're just going to look like somebody that tried to hide the truth for years.
Mr. Teixeira. I'm just going to let him play his tape. Go ahead, sir.
Mayor Butts and Council, I want to thank you guys because the police department doing an outstanding job in Inglewood, from my observation, and I thank you for that. And I want to personally thank Councilman Stevens and City Manager Fields. About 6 months ago, they came out to my house on 190th off of Crenshaw, 10th Avenue, and had all these trees replaced on 90th from Crenshaw to Briarwood. And it looks much better after those trees have started maturing, and helps the city. All the people go down 90th can see a much more beautified street. And I have one request, Mayor. Last Memorial Day, I'm a veteran in Vietnam and proud of it. Last Memorial Day, right over here by the library, you, Councilman Morales, and Councilman Franklin was there. And I asked Councilman Stevens why he wasn't there. He basically told me he wasn't invited. And I believe that every city councilman, all city councilors, should be there to recognize the veterans.
All of us are invited by the people that put on the program. They invite the whole council.
Okay.
We don't put the program on.
Okay,
They invite the congresswoman, they invite the state senator, they invite the assembly people, and they invite everyone on this council.
Okay, well, I saw all those people there, Mike Singwise and everybody.
So everyone was invited.
And
For the record, I wasn't invited.
Well, we don't put it on. They invite all of us. So anyway, go ahead, sir.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming, and the lady before earlier said she had been here for 41 years. I've been in Inglewood for 44 years. And I'm doing everything I can to stay here and not sell my property. When I go down Manchester, east of Crenshaw, and I start seeing the barred up buildings and vacant buildings, and then I go out to Torrance, Cerritos, where my son and daughter live, and it's hard. I just have pride in Inglewood, and I would appreciate if you would do everything you can to bring valuable business into the community. But I do appreciate what you guys have done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Madam Clerk, Madam Treasurer, members of the City of Inglewood. I'm Wayne Spencer. I'm here this evening on behalf of the South Bay Workforce Investment Board to provide a brief summary of its current activities. As you're aware, the South Bay WIB is comprised of representatives of the 9 participating cities of El Segundo, Lawndale, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Carson, Gardena, Hawthorne, and Inglewood for the delivery of employment and training services through its one-stop business and career centers. My report summarizes the January 17, 2013 South Bay Workforce Investment Board meeting activities and program accomplishments for the second quarter of program year 2012-2013. On Wednesday, November 28, 2013, the South Bay WIB Executive Board directed this WIB staff to create an amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement requesting that all member cities approve the transfer of chief local official and administrative entity from the City of Hawthorne to the City of Inglewood. Amendment number 5 was drafted and forwarded to the member cities for action on the South Bay WIB Executive Board's request. Once 75% of the member cities approved Amendment 5, the transfer was effective. That's 7 for 9 cities. The City of Inglewood was the first to take action on Tuesday, December 4, 2012. The cities of Gardena, Hermosa Beach approved Amendment 5 on Tuesday, December 11th. On Tuesday, December 18th, the cities of Carson, Segunda, Manhattan Beach, and Redondo Beach all approved Amendment number 5. As you know, the cities of Lawndale passed the amendment on January 22nd, 2013. All of the cities except Hawthorne approved the amendment without a dissenting vote. The South Bay Workforce Investment Board's multi-sector workforce national emergency grant has been populated. We have reached 96% of the project goal with an entered employment rate of 86%, an average placement rate of $18.90. Since then, the WIB was successful at securing a second grant modification in the amount of $17 million, which affects 163 dislocated worker events. The South Bay Workforce Investment Board was approached by the LA County Department of Children and Family Services to pilot a program for foster youth. The program is on the way. The South Bay WIB will be hosting its 13th annual Blueprint for Success Workplace Success Job Fair on Wednesday, April 10th, 2013 at Rogers Park in the City of Inglewood. All employees and youth are encouraged to participate. Rapid response services were provided for a total of 7 companies and 601 employees affected by layoffs during the second quarter of program year 2012. 4,212 Inglewood individuals were served this quarter at the one-stop business and career centers. The overall level of satisfaction for the second quarter was excellent. Our customer service rating was 80%, representing a continuously high level of customer satisfaction. This concludes my report. A written summary along with program year 2012-2013 for the activities are here for your perusal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spence.
Who do I approach?
You can give it to the Sergeant Arms. Well, is there any further public comment? Mr. Brown?
Good evening, council members. Having been at the BOAC meeting, I was obviously a little bit miffed that y'all didn't show up and speak. I was very grateful for the long extended comments of Bill Rosendahl and Denny Zine and some of the other members who understand that the community does matter and not everything is about getting bucks. Especially when those bucks don't actually come to our town and we're the most impacted community around. But true to my expectations, there was a vast shortage, and that disappoints me. I don't have the numbers here because I don't think you all really care, but if I'm not mistaken, it's like 10,000 new residents in the city of Inglewood will be impacted by the movement of that runway north. And I know you don't care about the people of Westchester, but those are the people who actually do, on occasion, come over here. I don't know why. They actually spend money in our Costco. You know, considering the way our Costco has treated some of us, I tend to go to the Hawthorne one. So it is kind of interesting that y'all were not there. And I wish you would take the time to share that, as well as share with people which 46 parcels along Century and 102nd are in negotiations with Madison Square Gardens. Some of us know how to read parcel numbers, but it's up to you to show that to the public. It's not up to me. I'm not the one getting 60,000 or 118,000. But I'm also going to say I was very disappointed again this week that it was Super Bowl Sunday and everybody was out rah-rah-rahing about Super Bowl Sunday and something happening somewhere else. And he who has time to go to funerals everywhere couldn't manage to go down 7 streets from his house to find out that Center Park was closed at 1:45 p.m. The young man's excuse was that we always do that. No, we don't. Dusk does not happen at 1:45 p.m. And when we have a park that we pay people to keep open, I actually am stupid enough to expect it to be open for the residents of this community, not for the convenience of an employee somewhere else. And if we can't come up with enough $12 from the salaries of you all and your benefits, I'm going to suggest you take it out of your subscription accounts or something else, because the residents of my community do deserve to have their park open on a regular basis. I've tried going through all the channels. That didn't work. I expect it to be open, and it's not going to be really pleasant if I gather all the residents of the community to come up and tell you individually, because that's unthinkable, especially when one of my council members only lives 7 houses from that park.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. The general fund is going to be improved because a lot of money that was delegated to the redevelopment agency will be returned to the city in the forms of the tax income, which is no longer be held. That's the good news. So based on that, the general fund will recover. Now, here again, I have this payment schedule, Mr. Fields, in $750 million. It's of a certain payment schedule for the low and moderate income housing fund. 1/31/2013. Did we make a payment of $15,825,000? Can you permit him to answer?
Please
Yeah,
finish your,
okay,
finish your
fine.
comments, Mr. Matthew.
Now, we are reading the same thing you're reading in closed session. It's on the internet. So there's no secrets. Every letter Ms. Cruz gets, we get. Okay? And I will speak for Ms. Cruz because she needs help. And obviously, she's overworked. And you have all of these specialists with redevelopment law. Well, I would question, how can you submit so many errors? See, I reviewed it. You're submitting enforcement payments with the wrong funding source. Now, that's elementary. And it's voluminous pages. And to me, being a 60-year resident of Inglewood, I'm embarrassed. It's totally unprofessional. And here again, I'm reading on the ROPS 3. Outstanding debt. $362,143,369. That's your ROPS 3. I'm reading how much is due from January 1 to June 30th. It's approximately 20 million, I think it's 20. But these are the figures, and I do the math. That's $1.1 billion outstanding debt. And it goes all the way to 2036. So I don't know if you're giving the Thompson information, or it's being misinterpreted, or they have no studies done on it, which we need a successor agency meeting in community room A for the public to understand the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Any more public comment? Close public comment, council comments, Councilman Stevens.
Yes, in reference to the property at 85th Crenshaw, the former Safeway facility, the situation with that particular, Mr. Fields, I've spoken with the developer and the owner. The owner actually stated that placing Dollar Tree in the staff report, he asked for that to be removed because that was not even an alternative. He wanted it removed. So city staff placed it in there for what purpose? To make it an issue so that the community can then feel, oh, a Dollar Tree is going there? Once again, we're getting into this political realm once again. Staff should not be in the business of politics. They should be strictly straight down the line. I'm trying to create an issue. What I will tell the public is that I have been in contact with Fresh and Easy. Chuck E. Cheese has expressed interest. Hometown Buffet has expressed interest for that site. So that's what's going on with that site, former Safeway site, former Academy Theater at 85th and Crenshaw, right on the curve there. Also, there's another issue as far as Sprouts. Sprouts' concern was that residents who live to the east of Van Ness not having the disposable income to be able to afford their product. That is another issue dealing with that particular site, is that in dealing with that site, we have to take in consideration that everyone who will patronize that facility will not be an Inglewood resident. There will be residents coming from as far away as Maine and Manchester, far to the east. So whatever business entity plants themselves there, they have to take in consideration of what their market demographics are going to be. And so that makes it somewhat limited. But Chuck E. Cheese, Fresh and Easy, Hometown Buffet, they're actually evaluating that site for their location. Now, in reference to the situation here, Mr. Fields, I know that it is not that difficult to operate that timer. Mr. Falco is on our payroll at a rate of close to $200,000 a year plus benefits with his raise. Why do we not have someone such as Ms. Johnson, Ms. Curtis, or someone else at far less than $100,000 a year operating that time clock? My time is running. I've only have 37 seconds. You can answer later, Mr. Fields. My point is that you are the city manager. You are to have the answers. And in closing, I want to reiterate this. My town hall meetings dealt with the water rate increase. In my opinion, the mayor trotted out Mr. Davis. It's only going to increase 28%, if not less. The issue was, the residents had an issue with the fact that such a huge increase, no documentation of how the money was really to be spent, just vaguely, lack of information, lack of transparency. That's what I offered to the residents. And yet your document states that there is, in fact, an increase of 63% in the water rates, in the water fund account. Yet I've stated very clearly it was 58% overall. Now you wish to separate it, but the bottom line is that I was accurate. The mayor stated straight right here, 28%, and it's just for one portion of it. So you can spin it, you can twist it, you can float it any way you want. But the bottom line is that you have taken a political position time and time again when it comes to District 1. And I believe that it's not appropriate, and I'm just putting you on notice. Thank you. I hope everyone drives home safely. Have a good evening.
Mr. Fields, do you have any comments?
I was just going to say that with reference to Michael Falco working the clock, there's no additional cost for him to sit here and assist me during these meetings. If I were to bring in one of one of the staff people that you mentioned, we end up having to pay overtime for those employees.
So Mr. Falco will be here tomorrow morning at 7:30, I assume.
Mr. Falco works more than his required 40 hours. I can
Very well,
assure you
Mr.
that.
Fields. I'm not going to get into a discussion here on Mr. Falco's hours.
Thank you.
But common sense tells us that
thank
there
you.
are people who
Thank
are
you,
far
Council.
less than Mr. Falco to operate that time clock.
Thank you, Councilman Stevens. Councilwoman Dunlap.
Yes, I would like to start out by thanking everyone who attended our District 2 Town Hall meeting last week. There was wonderful turnout, and people were very anxious to hear the items that were being discussed on the agenda. We had guests from Madison Square Garden who spoke about the forum development. We also had Jordan McCallum for the Hollywood Park Tomorrow gave an outstanding PowerPoint presentation with regard to the development going on there and to give us an update on where they are in that long process. Also, we got an update on the senior center as well. The funds are being held up. I think everyone is aware of that. But seniors are still meeting and planning. So anyone out there who's a senior citizen, or just if you're not a senior but you have an interest in the design or what we may be doing in the future, please attend those meetings. I think the next one is February 25th. You can check with my office, 310-412-8601 to verify the particular date, but I think it was February 25th for the next meeting of for the senior center design. Also, with regard to some of the things we did tonight, there was a lot of confusion on the resolution on the citizen participation plan. We are municipal government up here, and we're supposed to do by the book. When we adopt a resolution that states we are adopting the citizen participation plan, and that's what we are adopting. And then we go back, the next item, obviously a plan has dates in it. And then you go back, obviously when those dates are to occur, like the next public hearing, we have to set those public hearings. It's actually a separate motion. But the document should have been changed, and then you adopt a resolution. It's a very simple thing, but it's just a matter of just keeping things very clear. Everyone up here was in agreement, but with regard to the content, having evening meetings, that we should just need to be a little more exact with regard to not adopting something and then changing the dates. I want to mention also that Mr. Fields, this is the second time I've talked about Republic Consolidated, a new trash company, not picking up the trash according to their contract. They are to be in commercial areas of this community from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning so they don't impact traffic. On Monday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, blocking traffic, they were doing their commercial trash pickup along Centinela Avenue just west of La Brea. That's unacceptable. For them to be there at 3 p.m. when the no parking sign is 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. when no one's out on the street. So they apparently are having a really hard time complying with their contract, and I want it looked into, please. And I guess that's it. Once again, another thank you for all the residents who came out to our District 2 Town Hall meeting. Thank you.
Okay, real quick, I'm going to jump in. So people understand. You see, when you run government, and then this is my time, so you can start my time. When you run a government, you have to understand how things work. Mr. Falco being here working the clock doesn't cost us one dime because he's salary. He never gets overtime. He can work 25 hours in a day. He doesn't get one more dime. If we bring a clerical person here, by their contract, they're entitled to overtime. So we'd be paying extra. So that everybody understands, Mr. Falco being there, he works the clock for free. But he's also a resource to Mr. Fields, and so they're exempt employees. They don't get overtime. Let's go back to the water rates again. The rate increases were 28% and 12% for the average residential homeowner, and that was defined as a certain amount of water usage per month, and that is a fact. It does not change. Now, the fact of the matter is, the commercial rates were higher, and if commercial customers use more water than was projected, then that fund balance will be higher. It's the fund balance that increased 63%, not the rates. The rates increased 28 and 12 for residential. That's just the fact. If you stayed within that, I think it was 15 acre feet or something like that. I don't want to put a false, but anyway, it was a certain amount of acre feet that the average family uses. That's a fact. That's what it increases. So you have to be able to understand what you're talking about before you make a declaration that someone has misled you. The staff gave us all the same information, and it's true. Another thing that we need to do, when it comes to doing simple things, and I think Madam City Clerk was in agreement, if we're going to change a date, we can change a date right here at the dais. We don't need to come back to another meeting and have staff do a lot of work. You add 7 or you subtract 7, that's all you got to do. That's all this took. So all this stuff about we needed to go back and redo it, I don't think that was necessary. We reset it, it'll be changed in the documents. Councilman Morales.
Yeah, and, well, the mayor did a good job of hitting some of the stuff I was gonna talk about. Would like to start by thanking David Esparza, who came to us, I guess, a few months back and was able to put together this presentation quickly. He's doing a great job along with staff now. You know, there is some inferences sometimes that we're doing things incorrectly. You know, those are things that we need to clarify. You know, you'll see us kind of follow up on things. Why we do it is because, you know, you, the public, should know that we're doing what we need to do to move the business forward of the city. Now, a good way for everybody to really clarify for themselves how much their water bill went up is take a look at yours and come on in. And if you're confused about it, I'm sure there's someone who could sit down and explain it to you either downstairs and say, hey, this is how much the rate went up. But I had been clarified by staff early on. So I'm aware of that. Now, in regards to the consolidation plan for the community meetings, when we adopt a resolution, it's usually a document. It could be from 1 to whatever number of pages for a resolution. That's what we're adopting. Attached to it, we also get a staff report. There might be some pages in front explaining exactly what the action we're taking, why we're taking it, and some pages in the back of that resolution, neither of which is included in the resolution. In this particular incident, the resolution is a one-page document front and back. The calendar that was being contemplated was part of the staff report. It just happened to be after the resolution. So when we adopted it, it wasn't included. After that, we took steps to signify what dates and time we were going to make the meetings. So I just wanted to clarify that. At some point, you know, hopefully we won't have to continue to do it, but when there's inferences that we're doing things wrong, you know, it's just unfortunate that we have to clarify now. Mr. Falco, what time did you get here this morning?
Councilman, I arrived at about 8:24.
Yeah, 8:24. You sure it wasn't 8:25? I think.
No, I only know. I only know because I actually got a phone call at that time.
Okay. And the reason I'm saying for it, because that's actually late for Mr. Falco most of the time. And not only that, but, you know, he's received calls from me on Sundays saying, hey, this pipe is broken, you know, we need to call it in. Various times all day and night, and Mr. Fields as well. You know, we're lucky to have him here with us every time that Tuesday night rolls around with Mr. Fields. Not only is he doing something which basically is saving us money, because if he wasn't there, someone had to be there. But as the mayor said, he is a resource not only to Artie, but since he takes charge of so much in the city, he's available to us. So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, we can't say it enough, so thank you.
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, first of all, let me acknowledge that over the weekend, I attended a seminar with the Independent Cities Association, as this council has appointed me to be their representative on behalf of that organization. And so they celebrated their 25th annual winter seminar with the theme of controversy, conflict, and change. It was with a number of presenters from a variety of police chiefs throughout the state, throughout the county of Los Angeles, fire chiefs throughout the county of Los Angeles, as well as a number of city managers, mayors, council members, and a number of law firms that address some key issues that we are cities that are faced with. And particularly, one particularly I'll address with Jackie Lacey, who was one of our key speakers, who became the new Los Angeles County District Attorney, addressed us about the realignment and the release of the prisoners coming from the state penitentiaries to the county, and then they're being released within the residence of where they resided prior to them going in. And the concerns that we as a city need to be faced with to make sure we have enough enforcement to be able to maintain the quality of life for everyone. And then also there was a major panel on where we dealt with the surviving of the next big critical incident. And as you recall, several years ago, the city was involved with 4 officer-involved shootings. And how do you handle that? And so there was a number of law firms that was there. The Office of Independent Review was there. And then we even had Dave Lopez, who was the reporter on behalf of CBS Channel 2 or KCAL 9, on how we as representatives should conduct ourselves. So it was a very spirited meeting. Definitely information I brought to Mr. Fields, particularly also with representatives I met that work with cities on dilapidated bank properties and what we can do and how we need to act upon it. Infrastructure contractors to teach us, work with us on how to get our streets repaved and put bids for it as well. And with my final comments, I want to address two quick issues. One about Center Park, on why it was closed on Sunday at 1-ish. We need to verify if that is a policy because it's Super Bowl Sunday. But the final comment I do want to raise is that I thank the residents who have been plagued with another resident that's not a good neighbor. This particular resident has not only came to my home, as you heard them say, at the wee hours of the morning, but also have discord in the retail businesses, a local elementary school. This person has gone to countless number of residents, early morning hours, and as you heard them also barricading their vehicles from being exiting, using their body as a means of depriving them to leave. And then the countless efforts of the law enforcement responding, which has taken a lot of a burden of our tax dollars. And Mayor, I welcome your assistance to reach out to the Chief of Police and our City Attorney to help us find a positive solution. On that note, good night.
We're going to do that tomorrow. We're adjourned. And Mr. Fisher, I'd like to see you for just a moment before you go.